Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
All right, welcome to this week's edition of Stay Off My Lawn. It's July 16th, 2024, and this is our Diamond Anniversary, episode 75.
Oh, it sounds so special. I'll just treasure this forever. Honest.
I think that ended up being almost too much.
Yes, I started the damn clock today. Leave me alone.
Well, good. I was hoping you would.
It's only been 3 weeks since I've started it, right?
Well, it still worked out, so it's going to be okay.
Geez, it's right in front of me. I'm so blind I can't even hit the button. All right,
we are in such a busy season. We've got. I've said this before. We've got 2, 3, 4 hours of content. If I wanted it, and we just have, it's just so much to put in here, and we're not going to get it all. There was the first night of the convention was last night. There's some clips I didn't get a chance to put in here. Plus, we already had so much content anyway because everything's been going on. We'll save it for next week. We'll have a lot of the content for next week. Especially, I want to since him and I, Richard and I are ex-Teamsters. Him and I.
Yeah, that guy over there.
Him and I. It's a friend of mine. His name is Him and I. We are ex-Teamsters, so I think it was pretty appropriate to have a Teamsters president to be talking at the RNC last night. I thought that was crazy. It's never happened before. In the 122 years of the Teamsters, it has never happened. So I thought that was historical. But yeah. What do I know?
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Yeah, we're both Teamsters. Yeah. We know what it's like.
Yeah, you're going to vote the way I want you to and get over here.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not. I never was. And they didn't like me. A lot of them didn't like me for and no offense, a lot of the Yankees that came down here that are so big in the Teamsters, man, they just did not like us conservative Southerners. And it's like, I don't care. You don't impress me much. So you got a car. Anyway,
our little route depot that I worked for, I decertified the union. They made me the shop steward, and we got rid of the union. And because of that, I have a really nice pension coming from the company. They said, we will do this. They couldn't make any promises. The union could make pie in the sky promises all they wanted. It was fine, but the company couldn't make any. But I knew what they were doing and what was going on. And because of that, I have a very nice retirement.
Well, I will say that the big company that I worked for, Anheuser-Busch, if it wasn't for the union, we probably would get paid next to nothing. And without the retirement benefits and without the health benefits, I paid zero for my health benefits the whole time. While I was there, and I got a good match in my 401k. I got a good extra little thing that they called it a pension, but it was like cash out pension. I got all those things. I think precisely because of the union. I have to give credit where credit is due. They did negotiate a very nice package for us, and because it's such a large company and there's 8,000 employees, I think when you're in that situation, a union is positive because it does help you. I wouldn't be where I am today without all that. So I am grateful for that. But as far as voting my conscience, I'm still going to vote the way I want to. So,
yeah, the wife was in the union too, and she was head of the whatever it was, and so she gets a pension from Oregon. So we are abnormal in that both of us have pensions to go with our Social Security and little 401k, and life is not all bad.
Exactly, mine either. We always like to start off the show with an inspiring quote from our beloved Commander-in-Chief. He was at a self-proclaimed big boy press conference last week. I don't know who came up with that, but supposedly that was somebody on his staff or somebody. It might have been Jill, but she is a doctor. So, but anyway, it was a big boy speech from Friday, and this is I think this is a compilation. I put this together the other day. Hang on a second.
I directed the intelligence community to be a significant amount of intelligence be declassified. Second, our efforts to secure the border, southern border, is working.
See, I took that to heart, and I did invest in NVIDIA. I have no idea what he said there, but I mean, yeah, he's out there, man. I just don't know.
Well, there were words. You might as well have been reading down the pages of the dictionary. They were about as connected as I have no idea.
Sometimes sometimes words go together. Sometimes they don't.
Mostly that did not.
Anyway, Trump picked his VP yesterday, J.D. Vance.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is
J.D. Vance. You knew more about him than I did. I mean, I knew he was one of the ones, and I kind of looked at it and went, "Okay, he's a guy from Ohio, if I remember right."
Yeah.
And it was, I went, "Okay, not anybody I know, but."
He was a very open critic of Trump, even before he really got into politics. I don't know exactly what he did before he was elected to the Senate, but somehow he was being interviewed back in 2016 and said he was a never Trumper. But, because I'm assuming after he saw the way he governed and the way the economy got turned around and the way we dealt with, our partners across overseas and everything, I think he came around, and he's been a big advocate for Trump ever since. And he's a very smart guy. He aced his SATs, ended up going to college. I don't remember where he went to college, to be honest with you. I don't remember that, but he ended up going to Yale Law School. I think it was. It might have been Harvard. I think it was Yale. But he's only 39 years old.
Yale.
He's only 39, which I thought was actually a good thing. We needed some young blood in there. I did think it was maybe not so wise to choose an ally that's in the Senate that's a GOP. I think supposedly he's looking at Marco Rubio to maybe be Attorney General when he puts his cabinet together. I don't know. I think they need to take a step back and say, we need as many allies in the Senate as we can get. And unless we get a big red wave, which I thought we were going to get in 2022, so I'm not going to be confident in anything anymore. So I don't know how things are going to turn out at the polls. But I do hope they think about this twice before removing allies in the Senate or the House, for that matter. But that's my take on that.
Didn't you say he was in the military?
Yes, he's a Marine. There's no such thing as an ex-Marine, but yes, he was in the Marine Corps. He had very humble beginnings, and he wrote a book called Hillbilly something, and I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, he sold millions of copies of that book. But yeah, I mean, he's pulled himself up by his bootstraps. He had not such an easy life as a young man. But he's turned himself into something. He's a very smart guy.
He's someone that's worked hard for everything he's got.
Absolutely. Just like us. I mean, everything, I didn't get handed anything, and I know you didn't either.
Yeah, no, my what is it? White,
your white privilege.
I started to say supremacy. What is it?
White privilege card. Yes.
White privilege card. Yeah. I never got mine. It must've got lost in the mail. I don't know what it is.
Mine got burned with some bras, I think, back in the 70s. I didn't get anything.
That's probably, there was a big, it could have happened.
I was always trying to take a bra off back then, so I could see where that was. I did get the one hand thing down for a little while anyway. But, anyway, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. We do want to come to the, first of all, we want to talk about the spectator that was killed at Donald Trump's Saturday rally. You know something about him too, right? His name is Corey Comparatore. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, it's apparently there was a Biden tried to make, notice how I said tried to make a conciliatory call to the spouse, and she said, no, I don't need to, I'm not taking that call.
Yeah.
She just flat said no. He would not have wanted me to. He was, she said, my husband was a staunch Republican, and no, I don't need that. So Joe couldn't get through. So guess who then else tried? Kamala was.
Did she get through? I didn't hear about this.
She tried to get through too, and she goes, "No, I am not talking to any of you. You are the ones who caused the problem."
Interesting.
So the calls did not go through. The news media is being just pummeled with the stupidity that they've been doing over when this whole thing took place. So you're the ones who the Democrats could say whatever they wanted, and that lovely little flappy mouth crew that's on The View, yeah, they are being just beat to pieces over this.
Are they really?
You have instigated this crap. The news media has said that he's Nazi-like, the little German man with the small mustache and no, he's not.
No, not even close.
He was everybody's best friend in Hollywood until he decided to be a Republican, and then it's like,
Even on The View, he was on The View, and they loved him, and he was giving kisses and all kinds of stuff. But Corey was a girl dad. His daughter was there. He was a firefighter, a volunteer firefighter. I think he was an ex-chief of the group where he lived at. But he died while covering up his wife and daughter with his body. And it's like, man, you cannot, you look up hero in the dictionary, and that is exactly the kind of man that I want to be. And I think Richard wants to be. I want to be that kind of person, that Corey Comparatore. I don't think we hear his name enough in the media. That's another thing that
they're not even talking about him.
No, absolutely. There were two other people that were attendees that were hospitalized, and I don't know if I have their names.
One of them, the last I heard, and I didn't see names either, were in critical condition. So it's hard to find anything because they're not being talked about.
You got to really look for it.
Wait a minute. Even the shooter's name was mistaken or thought it was somebody else. And the rant that he made just prior to the deal was he just was a loon who had been worked up into such a frenzy by all the garbage that they said have been saying about Trump that they're the ones at fault.
It's funny, you don't see people coming out with this anti-gun rhetoric because, first of all, it was somebody who tried to shoot Trump or did shoot Trump. I believe that wholeheartedly. But supposedly he went and asked his dad. His dad had owned that AR-15. I think it was an AR-15. It might have been an AR-10, but it's an AR-type rifle. And he asked him to borrow it so he could go to the gun range. The kid's 20 years old, so he couldn't have bought it himself, but he asked his dad for it, and his dad gave it to him. Now, the parents have been very cooperative, according to the FBI. So this kid was off the rails. Obviously, you see that video, and if we could possibly grab that video and put it on our Facebook page, that would be probably our Instagram page. I'm sorry, that would be great because you could really see this kid was off the rails. He was just like. But anyway, I'm not going to say his name. I don't have it in front of me anyway, but I think that these shooters end up getting too much airtime, and I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm going to use the Paul Harvey stance on that myself.
Yeah, I think that's terrible. Let me say first off, when it comes to this kind of thing, as always, we welcome people with differing opinions on this. When we get notes and we get messages or whatever, I think that's fine. Everybody has their own opinion, and if you don't agree with us, that's wonderful. If you do agree with us, that's wonderful. But if you're one of those people that were celebrating that Trump got shot, or complained on social media that they weren't successful, or whatever it was, speaking just for me, and Richard, you can agree or disagree with this, but I want you to unsubscribe from this podcast. You are not welcome here. If we're connected on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, those are the only three I'm on, disconnect. Because I do not want you in my life. If you will celebrate just because you disagree with somebody politically or ideologically, that you think they should be shot, I think that you don't need to be in my life, and I'll let you comment on that.
That's a disgusting human being. Period.
Yep.
I don't care who it is. I mean, there there were memes that came out. There was one that came out literally within an hour or two of all this coming out. And it's Hillary Clinton, like in a home or whatever. And she's looking at somebody all confused, like, and the caption was, "What do you mean they missed?"
I think I sent that to you. Yes. Yes.
That was a pretty good little meme.
That wasn't bad. But I mean, but it's funny, and
Yeah.
I think when these kind of things happen, the ugly interior of our hearts get exposed. Now, if it was the other way around, if Biden got shot or if somebody took a shot at Biden, I'd be like, that's terrible. We should never resort to violence because we disagree politically or ideologically with people. That's just awful. And we're gonna end just our first segment here with some words from Jesus from Luke chapter 6. I got to give this to you. It says, "No good tree bears bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. Each tree is recognized by its own fruit. People do not pick figs from thorn bushes or grapes from briars. A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of." And in these kind of times, and just what I said earlier, these kind of times
Amen.
we kind of see what your heart is about. And if that's what your heart is about, then I don't need you in my life. So we'll leave it there. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about this and how the media reported on these gunshots. It was noise. It's a weird noise. So anyway, hang in there. We'll be right back.
The Stay Off My Lawn podcast is recorded before a live studio audience.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2, and the leftist reporters at the event that Trump got shot at couldn't even call the noises that they heard gunshots. They wouldn't even, we were talking off the air during the break, didn't want to make him a martyr, right?
Yeah, that's what they were afraid if they said stuff like this, that would make him a martyr, and that would really mess up the election for Democrats.
It happened anyway.
Really? That's what you're concerned about?
That's the thing.
You
It's like,
can't report honestly. CNN and MSNBC, the worst.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, and all this does come from both. I've got a little montage of clips about what they heard at this event during the shooting. And yeah, it's both those networks. That's where all this comes from.
Live pictures coming out of Butler, Pennsylvania, where some loud noises were heard. We don't know exactly what they were yet.
The Secret Service rushed him off stage after these loud noises.
He was talking to a crowd. We heard noises.
He was standing there at the podium, flinched at a noise.
We heard sounds. We heard noises. We don't know what they were.
Banging or cracking, loud cracking noises. At first I thought, is that fireworks?
There were reports of a lot of noise, a loud noise.
We heard the loud noises.
There were loud noises.
We heard those noises.
Loud noises were heard.
We had heard those, whatever that sound was, whether it was fireworks or whatnot. I don't want to try to speculate on what that noise was.
That makes my head hurt. Just
he flinched at a noise. No, he flinched because a 223 whatever went through his ear.
Yeah.
You're gonna flinch when that happens.
Yeah. Exactly. And supposedly his ear looks a lot worse than he had a bandage on last night, and it's like I'm curious to see what that ear looks like because cartilage you can't fix that, not really.
No. Yeah, I had a friend that had not had a friend, have a friend. He's still with us. Had some
as of today.
Well, I haven't talked to him in a day or two, so things happen. But he's missing almost from just above. He calls it the rain flap.
Oh gosh,
it's gone. They left him enough here that his glasses will still set on the top. Then they got the melanoma. Say that one. I sound like Biden.
Maybe we should get a voice actor to come in here and dub this.
Anyway, yeah, that's just disgraceful.
Yeah,
Are
it
you
is.
kidding me? You don't want to report what actually happened, and then you had headlines on the Hill. They're just lefty as
Oh
all
yeah.
get out,
Oh, yeah.
and these other news outlets. The Post was just about as bad. Excuse me. The Times, same way. They're what they put out. It's like, are you kidding
Oh
me?
yeah. Yeah.
Because they were told that's how you're supposed to report it.
New
They
York
all got their
Times.
marching orders from
Yeah.
Soros, so
I know.
they did it the right way.
The New York Times, the Washington Post, the Washington Examiner, a lot of times. Now they've gotten a little bit better at certain things, but yeah, I mean, a lot of these organizations, they that's just part of what they do. Um, the difference between Fox News, the First TV, the Blaze, among others, and most other right-wing channels is that there's still a shred of morality, morals that, like, calling for the murder of political opponents is wrong. And somehow it's like, and they can pick on Trump all they want, but Trump has never called for anything like that. He's never called for anybody's destruction, he's never even said he wants to be a dictator on day one. And that's another thing that Biden keeps throwing out there, that he has never said that. Play me the clip.
Nope.
It's never
Let's see.
happened.
They said this, if you go back in 2016, you're going to see all the exact same things that they're saying about him.
Exactly.
They're just trying to demonize him. And it apparently worked for this young man who, thank the Lord, was unsuccessful in killing him. Unfortunately, he did kill another gentleman and wounded 2 others, is my understanding.
Yeah.
At this point in time. So, you keep saying these kinds of things. It's going to take somebody that's got a screw loose. That's going to go, well, I'm going to fix this.
And there's plenty of people with screws loose. I mean, well, anyway, let me give you this montage. This is from the leftist media organizations and politicians as well from the last few years, calling for violence and even murder when it comes to our orange friend here.
Most recently, it was a BBC reporter who took to Twitter to write, "If I was Biden, I'd hurry up and have Trump murdered on the basis that he is a threat to America's security." That's David Aronovich.
Joe, you now have the right to take that Trump out. Take him out, Joe. If he was Hitler and this was 1940, you'd take him out. Well, he is Hitler and this is 1940. Take him the out.
I think that Joe Biden should officially have Donald Trump killed off. And that would solve this problem of him being too stupid to run our country for 4 more years.
I said, no. I said, if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Too many see the protests as the problem. Please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Go to the Hill today. Get up in the face of some Congress people.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
Running away from Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
When they go low, you can.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump. And that's a fact.
And they think that this is okay. Talking like that is okay, but that's
and funny how you don't hear any of that on anything that's right wing and you and I both, neither one of us watch much. I mean, we get a lot of clips and things from actual events from like C-SPAN and the actual people saying things and not someone else's interpretation of what took place or what they said, because I've seen that happen and it ain't anywhere close.
Even the right side does this. So no, you're absolutely right. So
it's just wow, that stuff. And then these loons that came on after the shooting, and we already talked about that in the first segment, but were just unhinged, saying, how could you have missed? What is wrong with Jiminy Christmas? Yeah. What kind of disgusting human being are you? Yeah. This whole thing is just got my gizzard in a fried up mode.
How can you think that way? And like you said, the rhetoric matters. Trump's been called Hitler, a threat to America, a wannabe dictator, and none of those things are true. And too many low IQ minions, the street level communists or whatever you want to call them, are ready to take action if the right or wrong words are said. And And Megyn Kelly actually had a perfect example of something Uncle Joe said I think it was last Monday.
I would be remiss in my duty if I did not point out that he just on July 8th said to a group of Democrats whom he was trying to shore up about his mental acuity, quote, "We're done talking about the debate. It's time to put Trump in a bullseye." The left, the headlines in the New York Times when Sarah Palin had what looked like a gun sight on certain districts prior to Gabby Giffords being shot led to litigation that went on for years about whether she had been the subject of what she called a blood libel. And now you've got the sitting president who's been so loose with his language. He called Kyle Rittenhouse a white supremacist, despite the fact that there was zero evidence for that and none of it was borne out in that trial. And he said it's time to put Trump in a bullseye days ago. It's just totally irresponsible.
Now I got to give Joe the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure he didn't mean it in that context. I would bet my life on that. I'm sure that's not what he meant. But you have to be careful the way you talk because, like I said before, there's a lot of low IQ minions out there. They're just waiting, chomping at the bit for you to say something to kind of give them supposed marching orders. Now,
they've been doing it for 8 years. It's not like it's just something that they just kind of started with this No, it's been constantly going on.
And you think about it, the shooter's 20 years old. So if it's been going on for 8 years, he was 12 when he first started hearing this Hitler talk and saying that Trump was the orange man bad at the very least. And so, that's all he's heard. If he listens
I've
to
not
the same
seen him
channel,
do anything that was Hitler-like.
For goodness sake, no. Anyway, I have to give Lester Holt some credit. I'll have this clip next week. We just ran out of time. We ran out of things. We only have an hour here. Steve gets mad at me if because he's got happy hour.
He gets cranky every week. Last week we were pretty close. But,
we were pretty close. But I have to give Lester Holt some credit. He actually asked Biden about that man to man, which I thought was that was pretty good. The media once in a while you get a glimmer of hope out of him. But he actually asked him about that quote from him saying to put him in the crosshairs. It wasn't the crosshairs. What did he call it? In the target or whatever. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, he asked him about that. And rhetoric does matter. So yeah, you just can't say whatever you think. Trump has been guilty of saying things he probably shouldn't have said, but he doesn't say that kind of thing.
The View says something to that effect almost every single time that just low life show is on.
Supposedly they're I don't know how true this is. I saw a little report yesterday that they're not going to be renewed because their viewership is way down compared to what they were. So.
Well, gee, I wonder why. The wife said something about that. I've been seeing that for quite some time and nothing's happened. So, I'm with you. When it happens, I'll cheer yay.
Yeah.
They're off the air, but it's the types of stuff and the lunacy that they talk about without a shred of evidence or any facts behind them is just insane.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be factual at all. They blurt out whatever. You and I, at least, we try to have things back up. That's why we have so many clips, because it backs up what we're talking about. And we do have some opinion in here, but for the most part, we're just trying to give you what they have said, politicians and journalists or supposed journalists. Before we get into more gaffes from his Big Boy Friday speech last week, here is one that I missed last week from his interview with George Stephanopoulos.
Mr. President, I've never seen a president at 36% approval get reelected.
Well, I don't believe that's my approval rate. That's not what our polls show.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
He did.
It is?
He did the goodest he could do. Goodness gracious.
Wow. Couldn't have done any gooder than he's done already.
And no, exactly. The new Big Boy news conference from Friday, while fielding questions, he got a little mixed up a couple of times.
My question for you is, how are you incorporating these developments into your decision to stay? And separately, what concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again. Secondly, the idea, I served in the Senate a long time. The idea that senators and congressmen running for office worry about the ticket is not unusual.
Words to live by there, but Vice President Trump.
What the hell was that last point? I
have no idea what he's talking about.
And Trump's a she now? I mean, I didn't know that he changed his pronouns. And when was he vice president?
I don't know, but apparently that's what Joe. Anyway,
the thing.
Anyway, but the press actually asked him about the whole Trump on Joe on Trump thing.
Actually, earlier you misspoke in your opening answer. You referred to Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump. Right now, Donald Trump is using that to mock your age and your memory. How do you combat that criticism from tonight?
Listen to him.
This concludes tonight's press conference. Thank you, everybody.
Listen to him. Okay, he listened to. He's mocking you, so I listened to him, and I thought it was pretty funny. Goodness.
Yeah, and that's a response to what? Yeah, okay. He can't. He's off the. Never mind. We're done here.
Yeah, he actually smiled on that one. But anyway, we've got a couple more clips from the Big Boy press conference from last Friday. So we're up against a break. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. More of the Stay Off My Lawn podcast is coming up.
Do you know how much salt is in your bowl, soup fans? Remember, an adult's maximum daily salt intake is 6 grams, and a kid's even less. So compare the labels on different soups and choose the ones lower in salt. Or perhaps try making your own. Go to eatwell.gov.uk. Salt. Is your food full of it?
Hi, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3. And we're laughing our way through these clips here. And Uncle Joe had a rough day on Friday, as we were talking about. Earlier that
Friday,
day.
And the other days of the week as well. But Friday,
it was only the days that ended in Y. Earlier that day, he had a presser with Zelensky. And here's how that went.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
Maybe it's prophetic. Maybe that's how he's going to be president of Ukraine eventually. I have no idea.
Wow. Okay, then. Well,
Joe's had a hard time.
I thought he was over Russia, and people are moonlighting these days to make an extra buck. So.
You got to make extra money. They're kind of poor up there. Last week at a rally in Michigan, things weren't any better. Biden and Representative Debbie Dingell were on stage together, and this is what happened there.
I got your back as well. Members of Congress, Debbie Haley, and by the way, I want you to know that I've spent a lot of time with Debbie. She's helped me a lot.
Apparently she's helped him with his phonics or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what she did. Debbie Haley has been her name was Debbie Dingell, for goodness sake. It's not even close to Haley. So
yeah.
Anyway.
The only thing I've heard recently about Haley is that she was giving her votes to Trump.
Yeah, she's actually speaking tonight. If I'm not
really,
mistaken,
they're trying to patch things up, are they?
I don't know. You got to wonder how much boot kissing is going to happen, if any. I mean,
I wouldn't trust her any farther than I could throw her.
And I've said this before. I really liked her when she was governor of South Carolina. She did some good things over there. From what I understand, and the people I know that live in South Carolina liked her. She was very good, but
they didn't in the primaries.
Well, no, I mean,
because what she was saying she was going to do when she became president was like, no.
She changed again. When she was pretty conservative when she was governor, and things kind of went off the rails for her. And I got my speculations, but I'll keep that to myself. But I think that she's just not the same person that she was. The left has all been given up on Biden. Here's Jon Stewart on what he thinks of Biden.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't know of a job interview that you could have gone on and delivered the performance that was delivered by Joe Biden and gotten a job. And I'm not talking about the presidency. I'm talking about like cashier at Home Depot, like a job that you would not think, okay, that is the hardest job in the entire world.
No offense to cashiers at Home Depot, but yeah. And I've always said is that the way Biden is, especially even since 2020, I mean, nobody was talking about this except for conservatives back in 2020, but he was losing it back then. I wouldn't let him run my remote control for my TV set as opposed to the country and have the nuclear codes. Come on.
Yeah, apparently I was in a Lowe's Friday. I had to get some sprinkler parts for my system, and I go in there. There was no cashiers at any of the checkouts. You had to do self-checkout. You got no choice in the matter. So apparently a lot of other people were, even at Lowe's, they weren't passing the interview process.
Well, we're not going to let you touch money. So yeah. But Home Depot and Lowe's both are doing that. Now they think about it. The last time I was in there's a spot where it's the self-checkouts, but there's nobody manning the regular checkouts. So you don't have a choice.
Yep. Yeah. That's exactly what it was. Now, it was kind of the middle of the day on a Friday, but still, you go in and go. And fortunately, I finally found someone in a red vest because I was wandering through the store like, Valerie. That's an old Kmart commercial. Anyway.
It's a blue light special thing.
Yeah. I'm lost. You know where my mommy is. I'm lost. That store is laid out really weird from the one I normally go to, but it's where I happen to be at the time. And it's like, oh, they're clear back here in the far back. Oh, okay. Well, that's not where I'm used to finding them, but okay. So anyhow, there was a nice lady that said, I'm going to go with you because she says, I'm not sure I'm telling you to go in the right spot. So I appreciated her honesty.
Sure.
She knew better than I did because anyhow.
There's a comedian, Henry Cho. We've seen him live. He's very, very funny.
Henry Cho is hilarious. Bless his little heart.
He had a routine where he went to Home Depot because he was putting together a log cabin.
Oh, yeah.
He needed to get some chink.
Dad, go ask him. His kids, I wonder where they got their sense of humor
Oh, my gosh. It's hilarious. The guy is great, and he's clean. You could bring the whole family. He's fantastic. He actually came to Cartersville, Georgia last year. We saw him live. He was fantastic. Going to, we're going to switch gears a little bit here. Senator Josh Hawley was questioning a lady named Carrie Wolonitz. Forgive me if I've mispronounced that, but she is the former senior advisor to the Office of the Director, it's a big mouthful there, of the NIH during COVID. And he asked her about
National Institute of Health.
Yes.
Health my eye. Let's see how many people we can get rid of.
He asked her about her role in the censorship of scientists and doctors during the COVID fiasco, and he got the standard answer from the left. Is in this case it was deny.
Regret your role in your office saying that a lab nexus here is a very destructive conspiracy. Do you regret your role in helping censor millions of Americans who were kicked off social media, who were disciplined at work for saying that maybe a lab was involved, which we now know the FBI thinks is the case. Do you regret it?
I do not believe I ever had the role that you're describing.
Do you regret anything that you did during this period? Do you regret not speaking out? Do you regret not advising your boss to temper his comments? Do you regret not opposing the censorship? Do you regret it? You're in a position of tremendous influence.
I do not believe censorship took place, sir.
You don't believe censorship took place?
I do not.
What?
Do what?
What world are you living in? Tell that to the scientists who basically lost their credentials. Tell that to the people who were kicked off of social media and banned because they asked about a lab leak. You don't believe censorship took place? The privilege is astounding. You were the chief of staff at the NIH pushing these conspiracies, pushing the effort to shut down Americans, and now you have the gall to sit here and say censorship never took place. I mean, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I cannot believe that that's your testimony. And frankly, I can't believe you have the gall to sit here and say that.
It was pretty ballsy. I got to admit, but
well, she was sitting there the whole time because yes, I watched. There was another incident where she was questioned as well. Same thing, sitting there with a little smirk on her face.
Mm-hmm.
These are despicable human beings.
Privilege.
Are you kidding me? You had doctors that said, hey, ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, we meshed that together and I have not lost a patient and they've recovered within like a few days, not put on ventilators. That's not working. That's not the thing to do. Okay, cancel. You're going against us. You have now lost your medical license. What?
Right.
What the hell? Wait a minute.
Or they've been denied being able to publish papers. There's all kinds of things. It's like, and so a lot of the medical community and the scientific community saw these first sacrificial lambs of that community and go, hey, I've got kids in college. I've got tenure at my university. I've got, and so it wasn't worth going against the tide because the tide was just too strong.
Well, that's what the intent was to stop any further, it's just was nothing but propaganda because what they were doing was killing more people than it was healing them. And, the big pharma can't have you using cheap generic drugs.
Oh, no.
And they're cheap.
Because you can't make money.
We can't have you doing that. We can't make our big bucks off of it.
And it would stop all the vaccinations too, because they were making from taxpayer money. I mean, who do you think paid for all those free vaccines that everybody was getting?
There's nothing free.
No, there was no such thing. But I think that's part of it. And now they're admitting that, wow, there might be some efficacy to the ivermectin. There might be, something to the hydroxychloroquine. There might be something to all this. And the lab leak theory, I mean, they're softening their stance on this at the same time going, well, we just didn't know. So you need to be forgiving. We need to move on.
Oh, my eyes roll anymore. I won't be able to read the chart when I go see the eye doctor.
Makes my head hurt.
Lord.
We're going to switch gears again here. When it comes to our attitudes towards illegal immigration, which the left doesn't like us saying that, the left has really gone off the rails very, very quickly. I have a clip from Obama when he was running for president saying something that when a conservative says it today, he's labeled as a bigot or a racist or, come on, man. Anyway, here's...
the thing.
Yeah, the thing, yeah.
This is not going to be a free ride. It's not going to be some instant amnesty. What's going to happen is you are going to pay a significant fine. You are going to learn English. You are going to go to the back of the line so that you don't get ahead of somebody who was in Mexico City applying legally. It's not something that is guaranteed or automatic. You've got to earn it. I think the American people, they appreciate and believe in immigration. But they can't have a situation where you just have 500,000 people pouring over the border without any kind of mechanism to control it.
I'd give him a hug today. I mean, that's really I couldn't agree more with what he just said.
I'm good with most of that. I don't have a problem with it. And I would love it if it was only 500,000.
Yeah, 500,000. Yeah, we're looking at
out of the 10 to 12 that we've got that have come over. Yeah, no, 500,000.
Yeah. I think the last number I saw, and maybe it was overestimated, but 18 million is what they're thinking with all the gotaways and everything else. Because there's no way to know. There's just no way to know.
It's all just a wag, which is better known as a wild ass guess.
Yes,
but they don't know it. The numbers are so stupidly high. They don't know.
And I heard an interview with Carrie Lake the other day, she's running for Senate in Arizona, and she ran for And we're going to talk about Arizona here in a little bit.
She should have been governor.
She
There's
should have been.
so much fraud going on.
Absolutely.
That's why Maricopa County was going, it's security reasons. We're not sharing the ballot stuff with. Yeah, it's security on your part to not get caught the crap you were doing.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. But anyway, since Texas kind of took it into their own hands to secure their border, there's a lot of them moving over to Arizona, and Arizona's getting overwhelmed now. So that's just it's just part of the problem. You close one off and you leave other doors open. It's just the way it works. And with
California, same thing.
Yeah,
they don't have it finished, and they're just going up and walking around the deal, or they're driving a boat like they're doing an invasion, which it is anyway. But if you've seen that, I don't know.
I have. Where they came up on the beach in San Diego. Yep.
Right up, people are swimming. They're on the beach, and this boat just comes flying in and stops in the sand, and about 20 people get out of this boat. They have cars waiting. Boom, they're in the cars and gone.
It's incredible. Incredible. I just don't see how Katie Hobbs, who is the supposed winner of the governorship there in Arizona.
If you heard her speak, she can't rub two sticks together and yeah.
How it's like her and Gavin Newsom. Now at least Gavin can talk, but when it comes to Katie Hobbs, I'm like going, how in the world did you get? Well, he's got that grease in his hair. I think it loosens up his lips.
And that smirk on his face when you know he's saying stuff that's just not. Whoa.
It's that kind of arrogance that drives me crazy.
Oh, me too. Oy.
I know. When we come back, we're going to talk about the S.A.V.E. Act that was passed and a little bit more about Arizona and their shady stuff going on there in the last election. Let's put it that way. So hang in there. We will be right back.
It's all about common sense and fun. We'll be right back.
Join the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society to help light the night and bring hope. Light the Night is a nationwide event that brings communities together to honor, remember, and celebrate those who have been afflicted with blood cancers. Lift your lanterns high and help shine a path to a cancer-free future. Be a part of Light the Night and find your local event at lightthenight.org. Let's light up the night and make a difference together. That's lightthenight.org to get involved.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn. Segment 4, we're almost done. Sit down.
I gotta go get my eyes checked. Yay!
Hopefully you went and peed on that last break because things are. This is going to be a good 15 minutes. In the House of Representatives just passed the S.A.V.E. Act. And this one will, of course, all that does is mandate IDs to vote in federal elections. Now, you need an ID to vote in all kinds of things, or you need an ID to do all kinds of things here in the U.S. Drive a car, buy liquor, whatever. And there's plenty of lefties that buy liquor. I mean, obviously, by the way they talk. But it now moves to...
You can't get on a plane without an ID.
Of course.
You can't... I mean, you got to have an ID for everything.
Absolutely. And so there's no way that's a racist thing. I mean, if you want to call something a conspiracy theory, that is a conspiracy theory that it's racist to need an ID for anything. Anyway, that S.A.V.E. Act now moves to the Senate and then to Biden's desk if it somehow passes the Senate. I don't think it's going to pass the Senate. I think there's... we don't have the votes to pass the Senate. Even if it does, Biden has vowed to veto it. But in the House, only 5 Democrats voted for this, such a basic common sense bill. Anyway, our friend, Representative Wesley Hunt from Texas, had this to say about the S.A.V.E. Act.
For years, Democrats have called Republicans conspiracy theorists for stating Democrats want illegal aliens to vote in our elections, yet President Biden and every single Democrat in Washington want this bill to fail. If Biden and the Democrats want to clear up this conspiracy theory, Mr. President, when this bill passes, make sure you sign it into law. And on another note, I've been black for my entire life. I like to bring up the most racist thing I've ever heard is the insinuation by Democrats that black and brown Americans are too stupid to get an ID to vote, just like everybody else. I call this the soft bigotry of low expectations. Figuring out how to vote in this country is a very low bar, and we could all figure it out regardless of your race, religion, color, or creed, and we should all want free and fair elections. With me today, I'm not going to pull mine out this time, but I have 6 forms of government issue ID. How did I acquire that? personal responsibility in this country. I've also heard a lot about Jim Crow here today. I'm here to tell you Jim Crow is over, and I know it because my parents grew up in it. And I think it's actually insulting to those that actually experienced the ills of Jim Crow. Having an ID to vote in our nation's elections should be a requirement, which is why I stand before you today urging my colleagues on the left to support this bill.
They throw out Jim Crow all the time just to make conservatives shut up because it's a black eye on our history. But it's gaslighting. It's basically what it is.
Yeah. If that tell me you want to use all the illegal aliens to vote without telling me you want the illegal aliens to vote, and they are telling them, well, you can't vote for any of the local electorates, but you can vote the national. You can vote just for president. That's okay. We're going to register you for that. Well, what is stopping them when they get in the ballot? Do they turn stuff off? I'm trying to figure out how does that work? Because I've been in all kinds of ballot things, and you go in, it's all available to you.
Yeah.
You can't
Everything.
just have the one thing.
Right. And not that I'm aware of. I mean, maybe they can, but I doubt that's the case. But
I doubt that's going to happen.
Like in California, though, it's like they're giving out IDs and driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. And if you don't like that word, I don't care. But I mean, they're giving out driver's licenses. So if they go in to vote, they've got a driver's license. They have an ID. They could vote in federal elections according to, I think, California law. That's all you need. So, I mean, and plus we talked about, I think last week or the week before, that at the border, they've got things in there. They've got posters up talking about you when you get into the United States, vote for Biden because he's opened these doors for you. He's made these opportunities.
They're down in Mexico City as you're coming up through.
That's a long way from the border.
Porta potties for crying out loud.
Yep, and Mexico City is a long way from the U.S. If you know anything about geography. But yeah, I mean, but you've got people from China coming in droves over the California border. People from, I think the last count was 120 something different countries that they've counted, that they've been able to count. Now they're from the Middle East, they're from China, they're from wherever. And how in the world are they getting to the southern border to walk over is beyond me. But they pay people a couple of $1,000s, and man, it's a racket in Mexico or all through Central America.
Or sign their life away for $10,000, $15,000 you owe the cartels to have them help get you across. And if it's unsuccessful, you still owe them that, by the way.
Yeah. And don't even get me started about the sex trafficking. They're buying kids and they're stealing kids and they're bringing them across the border as their own and selling them to these scumbag pedophiles that I don't even want to get into it, but it's there's just so much dirty underbelly that is going on at the border right now that I think would shock almost all of us if we knew the whole story, which I'm sure we don't. We probably only scratched the surface.
Well, you see what's going on in California where it's legal to do drugs. So we get left alone here and we get a little bit of stipend every month, which is enough for us to get more drugs. And then there's free food we can go get. And hey, who wouldn't want to live like this, man? And they're out there standing on the sidewalk, all slumped over. They're like a walking zombie. That fentanyl has killed like 100,000 people a year.
Yep. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, they're young people, and this is just, it's terrible what it does to them.
Yeah.
Why do you want to be like that? I don't get it.
And it takes a very tiny amount to kill you too. And and Barbara and I were watching this. We watch these border shows where they talk to all these border patrol agents, and you get to see them searching people's cars and all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting, But we were talking about fentanyl yesterday, and I'm like, what would be the motivation to put fentanyl in cocaine or pot or whatever? You're killing off the people that are buying your product. I don't understand what the end game is on that.
I don't get it either. It makes no sense. It's like, okay, you're those that are apparently they're still selling it quite well, and it's really sad that Kids today will just, stuff. And I know some of this stuff happened back in my day when I was a youngin'. Oh, come on. Don't you want it? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to back then. It's like, no, thanks. That's just not me.
No,
but it's,
when I was in high school,
everybody else is, I don't care.
Yeah. So you were stronger than me. When I was younger, I wanted to be people's friends, and if pot, I could never afford to buy anything like that. But if pot passed by me, I think it happened about 7 different occasions. I took some of it because I wanted to be accepted, and I think that's what a lot of people do today. They don't necessarily feel that way, but they want to feel part of the group. They want to feel, and I don't know whether that actually happens today because people are stuck in their basements playing video games today. So I think everything's different. But yeah, speaking of pot though, do you have you ever heard of Morgan & Morgan, the law firm that does all their ambulance chasers, basically?
I haven't.
Okay, they're all over the Southeast. Supposedly, they're the biggest law firm that does that kind of work in the country. But I listened to talk radio out of a station out of Tampa through iHeartRadio. And he's got these ads running down in Florida where about their, I think it's Amendment 3 to their Constitution, making marijuana use, recreational marijuana use legal in the state of Florida. And of course, Ron DeSantis is not for that, and most of the legislature is not for that. But he's running all these ads talking about that if I was governor, I would release everybody that's ever been arrested for pot possession or whatever. And I'm like going, I just don't understand that one either. It's like, it seems like you're making money off these people that are being arrested, and it seems like you're cutting your own throat on that. I just thought it was weird because he's an older guy. He's probably older than you and I are, but he's just so pro pot. It's just funny. I hear these ads constantly. Yeah, if I was governor, and I think all he's doing is setting himself up to run for governor eventually. So.
Yeah, let's see who all that goes to.
Yeah, and then all these pot smokers can't make it to the polls anyway.
Yeah. In more cheery news,
dude, I know the polls around here somewhere. Anyway, yeah, more cheery news. Meanwhile, in Arizona, there is proof now that
back at the ranch.
Meanwhile, that there was some shady stuff going on in Arizona during the election of 2020 and 2022. And
I am shocked. You don't say.
I know it. It knocked my shorts off. Thankfully, I was in Walmart and nobody noticed. But anyway. Here's that report.
The Arizona Republican Party filed a lawsuit on Tuesday against Secretary of State Adrian Fontes after discovering from 500,000 to 1.3 million illegal voters on the state's voter rolls. The Gateway Pundit reports the lawsuit highlights outrageous voter registration rates, with some counties exceeding 100% of eligible voters, including deceased individuals and those who have moved away. The lawsuit states this: our findings reveal a staggering number of counties with more registered voters than eligible citizens. This is a clear indication of a system in disarray. We are holding Adrian Fontes accountable to ensure fair and credible elections in Arizona.
How do you have more voters than you have eligible? Something tells me that's not right.
Something's
I don't know.
Awry.
It's just a thing.
You're a conspiracy theorist. There's a T-shirt out there. It's like, when I die, don't let me vote Democrat. But yeah.
Well, and I was telling you off air about a gal that was a reporter, and she was taking somebody from the state. She was doing some investigating and took somebody. We're going to go visit a bunch of voters. And then she went to a cemetery and stopped. We're here to thank all of these voters because something like over 25,000 votes in Michigan got voted by dead people.
Well,
dead people got up and did their duty.
When you have all this mail-in voting, that's the kind of thing you invite.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Other countries around the world said no, and they stopped this long time ago.
I've got a list.
It's just fraud extraordinaire.
I think it was France. Even France said
yes,
that,
even France has banned it. Something's not right because it's France.
Because they don't think right about much. So, yeah. Well, anyway, we need a palate cleanser.
Please. Yes, please.
We continue our Pro-America July. And this is...
Salute.
Absolutely. We're from White, Georgia. Population 372. Salute. Anyway, if you're not familiar with that, it was hee-haw. So anyway, this is a famous recording from President Ronald Reagan from probably back in 1981, 82. Here we go.
If we look to the answer as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land, we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, My Pledge, he had written these words: America must win this war. Therefore I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
Gotta love that. I mean, that man knew how to make a speech. He was a good man.
Yep.
Well, anyway, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Smart Speaker, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Or you can just go to our good old website at stayoffmylawn.us for all our past and present episodes.
All right, well, keep your chin up, folks. We will see you next week.
Toodles, and thanks so much for listening. We do appreciate you. Well, we had fun, and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh, or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.